Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Milwaukie. My name is Scott Stauffer, and I am the city recorder for the city of Milwaukie. And one of the great things I get to do is work with our community's veterans associations and groups. Notably, our city's partners have been American Legion Post 180 and the Susannah Lee Barlow chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And so I want to thank those groups, and I want to say welcome to everybody. Today's event is about thanking the veterans, thanking those who served our nation. In particular, welcome home and thank you to those who served during the Vietnam era of combat. So without further ado, I'm going to ask the audience to please rise as the American Legion Post 180 Honor Guard and Boy Scout Troop 144 conducts a flag raising ceremony. With that, I think I can say thank you to the Honor Guard and the Scouts, and let the audience please feel free to have a seat. As he makes his way to the podium, we have a number of speakers this afternoon, and then our event will conclude with a procession over to Scott Park where the Milwaukie Vietnam Veterans Monument is. Our first local leader to provide remarks this morning is Jerry Craig with American Legion Post 180. It's been my personal privilege and also the city's honor to work with Jerry and the Post, and we thank them for all their work. So, Jerry.
Thanks, Scott. I see a multitude and multitude missing. So it's good. Thank you for coming. I see many nice faces, good faces, and that I've worked with. As you just noticed, the Honor Guard has raised the flags. Everybody keeps asking me, are we going to do volleys? No. The city has a little bit of a understanding about that, but we'll get to it. We're here for Welcome Back Veterans Day, Vietnam Veterans Day. A president changed that to National Vietnam Veterans Day. As you know, we can celebrate it any day of the week, anytime we want, because March 29th has been changed to March 18th, thanks to the mayor. Anyway, what I'd like to address, just because I see a lot of Vietnam veterans, but I also see some newbies, using that word nice as I can. I'd like to review some things that have went on, a rehash. I tried to get some updated figures, but I'll deal with what I saw. We had 9 million who served in Vietnam. That was in Vietnam. We don't have a real count of how many was in the United States, in Hawaii, etc. But that's an important figure, because the 58,000 who are on the wall in DC was on the same wall type thing when we brought the traveling wall here. It took us a couple of years to get that all set up, and it worked fine. And many of those who participated had some kind of table are here. They recently classified the years we were there. And I use that word, we, as being part of that group. So what I'd like to do is just a quick rehash of things. We have incoming. Okay. 1945 to 64, they call that the road to war. The French were there, they left. We decided to send a few people over to see what's going on, and then we started putting troops in. 1965, they called it the year of the stemming the tide, build up. 66, 67 was taking the offense. 68, everybody remembers Tet? I did, because I was walking off a plane in the middle of it. They called that the Tet shift of views. 1972 to 74 was negotiations and passing the torch. I'm still not sure who we were passing the torch to. The Vietnamese were having a deep problem getting back in the saddle. My personal opinion, of course. 1975 was the fall of Saigon. Many of you who are my age are able to watch it on TV. Helicopters leaving, helicopters getting dumped off aircraft carriers. They say on 4/29/75 was the last day we had American casualties. 4:30, the war ends. During that period, a lot of Vietnam vets come home. The coming home was great. The receival was a little hasty and a few problems. But we learned to put up with that. The last day of that, they called the Operation Frequent Wind. I took that as we were leaving any way we could. And it was, I'm glad they title all that stuff and have it in the papers and on TV and whatever. But I think that's very good of them. As a chaplain, still on duty as a service rep, I am now our honor guard, who most wasn't here. We've been doing funerals at Willamette to help them every day. And where we had World War II veterans passing, we now have Vietnam War veterans passing. See, we have volunteers, whether they like it or not. But I have to give more credit in this particular case, because dealing with their families, spouses, granddaughters, that is a real treat, and I respect it greatly, because they're the ones that take care of us when there's a need. They didn't get much credit. And I from the heart, I give them all I can, whether it's filling out paperwork, meeting with Willamette National, getting a church to help them. I recently had to, well, I didn't have to, but I had a spouse call me from Hawaii, and she wanted to ship her husband home, and she didn't know how to do it. So I called Mark Stein here in the town, and he says, we'll do that. And he did. And those are the things we need to help out with. During that time, when I got out in 2007, I went to chaplain school. 2009, I was able to wear a chaplain symbol. That was a great treat for me, because it took me 3 years in the military, and every year they told me I couldn't become a minister or a chaplain within the Army. I was too valuable. I'm not sure about that. But in that term, the post got a hold of and attached themselves to the city. And I say that with great pride, because that's one of the Legion's main goals, community service. So we started the commemoration of Vietnam War, which President Gamba signed. That was 4/29/13. Thanks to Scott and a few other people, we entered into a partnership. That partnership goes till 2025. I'm sure it'll last longer than that. But we have the traveling wall here. We've had Flag Day celebrations. In 2017, we brought a monument to Scott Park. And on that monument stands those who passed in Clackamas County and those that are passed in Milwaukie. The ones with Milwaukie, you'll see stars by their names. We added 3 names a year ago, thanks to the DAR. They wrote a book. I still haven't got it all read, but I'll get there. So that was November, and then we did a dedication on November 11th, 2017. I noticed every once in a while I drive up there and there's people actually standing on by it, and that's what it's for. We rededicated it last year in 2022 because of a pandemic that we had no control on. The city agreed that that was probably the best thing we could do, and here I am today. And I'm thanking you again for being here, trusting us, working with us. That's all I got to say, Scotty.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you, Post 180, for the many things you do for our community and our veterans. Our next speaker is a member of the Milwaukee City Council. Adam Khosrowshahi was first appointed to the City Council last May in 2022, and in November of 2022, Milwaukee voters elected him to continue in the seat he was appointed to. Prior to service on the City Council, Councilor Khosrowshahi was a member of the city's Planning Commission, and Councilor Khosrowshahi is a Iraq and Afghanistan Vietnam veteran. We thank him for his service and we welcome him to the podium.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Jerry, as well. Appreciate you very much. I served with Jerry on the Veteran Advisory Council for Clackamas County for some time, and I appreciate everything he's done and continues to do for our community and our veterans. First, I do want to start by welcoming veterans and their families, the American Legion Post 180, which I'm a proud member of, and the Milwaukee Historical Society, and the Susannah Barlow chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I appreciate you all being here. We're here today in recognition of Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day, which honors and remembers the day that our last combat troops were withdrawn from Vietnam and the last prisoners of war in North Vietnam arrived on American soil. The sacrifices made by women and men in uniform are still being made today through the physical and mental scars of war. I think we're all familiar with the welcome or unwelcome that a lot of our Vietnam veterans experienced when they came home. And I'm here to say that your sacrifices are felt still to this day, not only by fellow Americans, but by other brothers and sisters in uniforms that have served. It is appreciated, it is not forgotten. Our troops don't make the call to go to war. They answer it willingly. And it's something that we as Americans and as a nation need to take time to appreciate, understand, and respect, because it is not an easy call to answer. It's not just the veteran that is sacrificed or the troop that is sacrificed, it is their families as well. It is the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, the sisters, the parents, the grandparents, the siblings, the children. It's a family sacrifice. As a veteran myself, I just want to say personally thank you. For if it wasn't for you defending our nation, I would not have had one to stand up for and fight for. I appreciate that very much. And now, it is our duty as a grateful nation to ensure the courage and bravery of our Vietnam veterans is not only honored, but admired, memorialized, and never forgotten. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Counselor. Our next speaker this afternoon is Mayor Lisa Beatty. Mayor Beatty was first elected to the City Council as a council member in 2014, and after 2 terms on council in the fall of 2022, she was elected to mayor. Prior to her service on council, Mayor Beatty was a member of our Planning Commission. Mayor Beatty today will offer some remarks and will read the city's proclamation. Mayor Beatty.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today to mark this occasion. I was here when we dedicated the memorial in Scott Park in 2017, and I've always thought that's a lovely addition to our park system. I'm just going to proceed to reading the proclamation, except that I do want to note that I get to read proclamations as mayor. That's one of the things I get to do in our council meetings. But we do have 2 veterans on our city council now, which is really noteworthy. That has not been the case in my 8 years tenure before. So I just did want to recognize not only Councilor Khosrowbadi, but Councilor Massey, who's standing there near him, who also served in the Navy, had a career in the Navy before he moved to Milwaukee. So I will read the proclamation. Whereas the people of Milwaukee and the United States wish to continue to honor the service and sacrifice of American military personnel and their families who served during the Vietnam War. And whereas the government of the United States and the state of Oregon have proclaimed Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day to be at the end of March each year to coincide with the anniversary of the last day of combat operations in Vietnam. And whereas to better serve our veteran neighbors in need, the City of Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Police Department, the Milwaukee American Legion Post 180, and veteran service organizations in the greater Milwaukee community have established the Corporal Diffie Fund, which provides immediate interim support to veterans in need while other services are sought. And whereas the City of Milwaukee and its community partners, American Legion Post 180 and the Susannah Lee Barlow Chapter Daughters of the American Revolution are committed to continuing to honor Vietnam veterans and their families. And whereas it is right to reflect on the service and sacrifice given by all who served our nation in the Vietnam and Southeast Asia theater during the Vietnam War. Now, therefore, I, Lisa Beatty, Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim March 29th, 2023 to be Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in the City of Milwaukee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Beatty. One of the great things about this community is the volunteerism that you see daily. And one of our most profound and longest serving volunteers is our own Siri Bernard. So our next speaker, we asked Siri to come to the podium. Siri today comes to you as the Vice President of the Milwaukee Historical Society.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Siri Bernard. As he said, I'm with the Milwaukee Historical Society and Museum and the American Legion Auxiliary Post 180 in Milwaukee. I'm one of the people Senator Merkley's office asked to get interviews from our veterans who served in any of the wars in which which our country has deployed troops. This is a nationwide action called the Veterans History Project. I have packets about the Veterans History Project. We will use filmed interviews and documentation for any vet interested. We'll film an interview together and collect any pictures or journal entries you may have, edit it with you, and send it to the Library of Congress for future generations to view and for their education. I have some packets here. Please come and ask me any questions or pick up a packet. Thank you for becoming part of this important program. Thanks.
Thank you, Siri. This afternoon, we are honored to have with us the Portland VA's new medical director, David Holt, who will offer some brief remarks.
Good afternoon, Mayor Beatty, Vietnam veterans, and everyone in attendance today. I wasn't on the program, but I'm so grateful that I was honored to be able to say just a few words. My name is David Holt, as they mentioned. I'm the new director of the Medical Center up on the Hill. I came from Southern Oregon. I was the director of the VA White City, and now I'm grateful to be up here with all of you. I just wanted to say today, welcome home to our Vietnam veterans, and welcome home to your VA Medical Center, the VA Portland Healthcare System. It is my responsibility to make sure that you have the world-class healthcare that you deserve as Vietnam veterans. Please come by and see me when you're up at the VA. You have a ticket to my office anytime you want, and I'd love to talk to you, honor you, appreciate you, and make sure the care that you're getting every day is world-class for you. On behalf of the entire 4,700 employees and another 1,000 trainees from the Oregon Health Sciences University, welcome home, Vietnam veterans. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Director Holt, and welcome to Portland. All right, our final speaker this afternoon, who will then explain how we'll process over to the monument, is a representative that I've had the privilege of working with for almost a decade now. Along with Jerry, we've been a triumvirate between the city, the Post, and the DAR. Phyllis Hines has been a real pleasure to work with. I appreciate all that the DAR and that Phyllis do. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the Phyllis Hines from the DAR.
Good afternoon. I'm Phyllis Hines, and I represent the Susannah Lee Barlow chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. Our chapter's first connection with the city of Milwaukie and the American Legion Post 180 began with the moving Vietnam Wall event. From there, we began our work on a book which remembers the young men from Clackamas County who died in Vietnam. This project then led to our involvement with the monument here in Scott Park to honor the Clackamas County fallen, as well as the veterans who were able to come home. Today, we are here to honor Vietnam veterans. As part of that recognition, we invite all Vietnam-era service members to come forward to receive a commemorative lapel pin from the United States Department of Defense and a certificate from the Susannah Lee Barlow chapter of DAR. This certificate says, "The National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Susannah Lee Barlow Chapter, NSDAR, joins a grateful nation to honor a veteran in recognition of valor, service, and sacrifice during the Vietnam War. We honor your choice of coming forward now to be presented with a pin in front of this audience, or to come to our table after the ceremony or after the monument procession for a private pinning. We want to honor you in a way that is most comfortable for you. So if you would like to receive a lapel pin, we invite you to come forward. seen the Vietnam Monument at Scott Park before, it is a beautiful and inspirational piece. One side is blank for people to see their reflections and reflect on their own places in relation to the monument's meaning. One side describes the partnership that made the monument happen. One side lists the names of the 50 young men who lost their lives in Vietnam, and another side is dedicated to honoring and welcoming our Vietnam veterans. For those of you who are interested in joining our procession to the monument, you can choose a carnation to place at the monument. The red flowers signify love, passion, and courage, and the white flowers signify purity, innocence, sympathy. Feel free to choose and place a flower wherever you feel is most appropriate in your heart. We will then walk together over to the monument. To all veterans, we thank you for your service and dedication to our country. To our Vietnam veterans, we say, welcome home.